It was a dark, scary night when I was watching Casper the Friendly Ghost. I was eating popcorn with my siblings who had already watched this movie and accused me of being an uncultured swine for being young. I enjoyed the movie very much since for the first time in my few years of life, I would like to note I was 7. A ghost wasn't actually scary. As a Latin American, the most famous ghost story is La Llorona. There are thousands of versions, but the main plot normally stays the same. A woman is dumped, and in her despair, she drowns her 2 children. She later on goes insane and regrets murdering them, and cries every night looking for them. She proceeds to confuse other kids for her own, takes them and drowns them in the nearest body of water. Scary, right? My aunt used to tell me all kinds of ghost stories, and to be honest, none of them were good. Not because the story itself was bad, but because they all had the intent to scare us. And so I asked her, Aunt Judith, why are all the ghosts in your ghost stories bad? She would go on to answer, because if they were good, they would be in heaven. This was confusing since I thought if you were bad, you would go to hell. Did that mean that Earth was hell? Was I living in hell? No, at least I don't like to think that. But my question stood. So I went on looking into different mythologies and religions. A lot of them actually have a place for those who aren't good and aren't bad, going by different names like Limbo or Elysium. But my personal favorite take on such a world is the spirit world from Avatar The Last Airbender. Avatar The Last Airbender looks at the spirit world as an entity in itself that correlates with our world. If the spirit world is upset, so is the physical world. There needs to be balance between them. The thing about these spirits is that they don't necessarily represent the dead either. It's just another form of life, and initially there is no such thing as good or a bad spirit, just nature and the goal of survival. Later on in the spin-off The Legend of Korra, they talk about how at a point in time in the spirit world, an entity created what we define as good and bad. But where does the idea that all spirits are bad come from? According to the Avatar perspective, historically, spirits and humans would live together. It was not always a good relationship. Just like any living being, a spirit and humans needed to learn how to coexist. Now sometimes spirits were animals that followed our natural food chain, the whole prey and predator stigma. There was a time where the spirits and those of the physical world coexisted peacefully amongst each other. It was due to the humans' lack of respect of these entities that they would be aggravated, creating tension. This led to the very first Avatar to separate the two worlds. Travel between the two in both the main series and the spin-off is very rare. When there was conflict between the worlds, the Avatar would normally take the physical world side, as long as they understood that what was required of them, which was to respect the balance of their surroundings. When the balance is disrespected, the spirits retaliate in turn. Now let's take a look at other perspectives. Historically, spirits are simply in a journey to the afterlife. That is why the Chinese and even Egyptians used to bury them with special items like mingxi. Mingxi were sculptures of people and objects that the dead would need in their journey. Since we're aware that these spirits are only trying to reach their destination, why are our reactions to ghosts so bad? I recently lost my dad, and honestly, I'd give anything to see him again, even if he's a ghost. I would be happy to see him. Many say that if he is here, it means that he is lost, so it could cause some grief or even pity for family members like me. But why is it that today's society, it is fear that it is invoked rather than pity? Could it be the fact that they are constantly sought out by teenagers with Ouija boards, which can lead them to make a wrong turn in their journey, or that people buy all kinds of equipment to seek them out, never really leaving them alone? The most likely answer might simply go down to the kinds of spirits that are known to us. So let's go over some of these, shall we? The poltergeist. The word stands for noisy ghost. These are the spirits that present themselves by making lots of noise, like banging on walls, stomping on the floor, even moving stuff around. They make themselves be noticed in a very subtle manner that can slowly drive a person insane. Normally, people who experience this, such a spirit, are disregarded instead to have psychological problems. Another kind of spirit are orbs. Known as the most common ghosts, they tend to be seen in photographs and videos as little blotches of white or blue light. What's special about an orb is that they are visible to us. Moving on to a funnel ghost, known for being harmless and simply presenting themselves as a cold spot, they are said to be the loved ones or previous homeowners of a house or building. Then we have the interactive personality, which I think could be a wonderful experience to have. This is the only other kind of ghost that we can see, and the second most common kind of spirit. An interactive personality is a person who has passed away. You could even know them. They can speak, make noise, touch you, and even be fully visible to us. But none of these prove that spirits are evil. Which leads me to conclude that there's no right answer to the origins of spirits, or why they really remain or live, because that would mean that every single religion is accurate. Maybe a spirit is in heaven, maybe it's in limbo, maybe it's stuck on another realm related to Earth. Whether the spirits we see or encounter are good or bad might simply depend on their living personality. If a person is bad, chances are their spirit will be bad too. To confirm that the spirit world is exactly how Avatar The Last Airbender shows it would be absolutely bonkers, since I have no proof, but it's just a plausible idea. What is sure is that the main reason why media portrays spirits as evil is only to pump up our adrenaline and lead people to have fun at the theaters. After all, a good spirit would most likely make me cry. I cried watching Casper the Friendly Ghost. That poor boy died of polio playing outside. If there are spirits, there are definitely some good and some bad. Whether they intervene in our lives is up to them. But most of the things we see on TV and movies and even books have the intent to spook us. And how would a nice ghost scare us? It wouldn't. We are raised to be afraid of these entities when really, if we do have the luck to encounter one, we should help them out.